I want to talk about America bad memes, okay? That is a thing, and if you're American, I'm sure you've seen this before, okay? I'm sure you're familiar with this shit because it's everywhere. It's on freaking Reddit, it's on freaking Twitter, it's on all the platforms, stuff like this. Reddit. Say the line, Bart. Say it. America bad. Yeah, America bad. That's right. Okay, and there's more. There are so many more of those dumb memes. I mean, it's a whole thing at this point, right? And then Americans try to kind of strike back. And they're like, Americans are too nationalistic with their flags, right? They're constantly praying to their flag. They're too attached to their flag. Stupid Americans. And then, like, look at the Britons. Look at the French. Look at the Canadian. Not the German. You know? And it's like, America's like, it's not just us. And it's like a whole war going on, like a meme war, basically, on Reddit. People, when America's being made fun of, the same people when Americans make fun of their country back. You can't make fun of our country. We can make fun of your country only. Now, here's the thing. I love America, okay? I think one problem that many people have, they can't differentiate between a country as a government entity, okay, as a diplomatic entity that represents a whole nation and that does certain political decisions like invading Iraq, which is a questionable decision, and the people of this country. And this, by the way, also applies to China. I make this point regularly. The people of China are great, okay? I've been to China many times, met the Chinese people, lived in families. They are awesome people. They are really nice, they're friendly, they're respectful, they're educated, they're smart. They know there are problems with their government. They are not these dumb, whatever the stereotype is, communist morons that just follow blindly their leader and shit. They know what's going on, okay? They are smart enough to know what's going on. But then there is the Chinese government, which is a very, very questionable entity, okay? And they do very, very questionable things. These two entities have to be separated in people's minds, and that's the same with America, okay? There is the political entity America, and there are the people, and there's the country as well. And I love the country, okay? Look what we get from America, man. Silicon Valley, Apple, so many companies, so many great cities, so much great entertainment. American humor, you know, like the humor and comedy and shit that comes out of the United States is on such a different level if you compare it to Germany or England. Well, okay, English humor is, you know, we've got Monty Python, so that's a thing. But we get so much from this country. And beyond that, I mean, the country itself is just beautiful. From Arizona, from the West Coast, over to the Rocky Mountains, you know, the whole East Coast, the whole geographic diversity of that place is just magnificent, okay? So it's a great country. But here's my view as a German, okay? And this, don't get this the wrong way, okay? Please don't get this the wrong way, my dear American friends. But certain things that Americans do and certain parts that are very well embedded in American culture are very unique to American culture, okay? Like, for example, an extreme sense of nationalism, an almost like overwhelming sense of nationalism, whether it's the Pledge of Allegiance, whether it's the national anthem that is constantly sung at every freaking opportunity, whether it's freaking Trump and his followers hugging the American flag, okay? Whether it is that Americans constantly insist it's the greatest nation on earth, you know? America has a lot of problems. Every country has a lot of problems, okay? But if you are 1 out of 10 countries that have a lot of problems, but you are the country that most proudly says we're the greatest of everything, then that invites ridicule, okay? And that invites other people to say, bro, how about a little bit of modesty? Okay, and that's, I feel, something that's not very common in the United States among the people. Modesty, okay? To say, dude, yes, we are a great country, man. We are a diverse country. We're producing so much content for the world. We are one of the richest countries in the world. We are having one of the greatest economies in the world. We are the leader of the world. We have the UN. We have achieved incredible things in actually a quite short amount of time. I mean, you know, this country is like, what, a few hundred years old. It's freaking insane, like what the country has achieved. But these things only work to proudly call them out if you also show a sense of modesty with it, going with it. You know what I mean? If you are just saying, we're the greatest, and here's my gun, and constantly you have like shootings and freaking children get headshotted in their schools, that doesn't come together, and that invites ridicule. And I feel that's why we're getting all these memes. That's why we're getting these "Oh, America bad" meme war that's currently going on. Not because America is a horrible country, but because America, and many Americans, it seems like, lack a sense of modesty. They lack a sense of saying, we're great, but there are many other great places as well. And in certain things, we are excelling, okay? We are the greatest in certain things. No doubt about it. But we're also terrible in other things, man. And we just have to acknowledge that. And it's, that's what I mean with modesty. You see that not very often. And especially as things get worse and worse, it seems like in the States with the political divide, and more people, like it's a huge split in the country with the left versus right. I mean, what Trump did to that country and what we still get now is, it's a whole story in itself. But it would justify a bit more modesty. And I don't see that. And I think that is part of the reasons why this kind of exists. I'm pretty sure we didn't start pledging to the flag until the 80s or some shit. It was an anti-communist. Yeah, it's ironic, right? Because it's like anti-communism, where they're like, the communists, they are so stupid with all their flags and their ideas. We gotta start the Pledge of Allegiance. We gotta pledge to the flag every morning in school, all the kids. And it's like, you're doing the same thing. You're establishing like a quite brutal ideology. Like you're blinding people with all this, like, we are the greatest, we're the best, we're the most awesome thing, and you're so privileged to be part of this kind of thing that people lose sight of the context and all that. So, but I agree with you. It probably happened in the 80s. I don't disagree. Some Ronald Reagan type shit. Yeah, you're probably right. Well, America deserves to be laughed at, says Wesley Thompsons. If it doesn't want to be laughed at, then Americans need to behave and act like normal people, not stark, raving, mad lunatics, Belgian conspiracies left and right. I agree with the conspiracy part. Look, QAnon and Trump and all this right-wing nonsense has done a lot of damage to the country and to the minds of the country. Obviously not everyone, but too many. So I'm with you there. At the same time, you got to put American culture into context as well. Like, you have to understand the culture in America is different, okay? And the way people grew up, that's the thing about gun culture in America, it's not as easy as saying, well, I live in Europe, nobody has guns here, we don't have school shootings, so why don't they just remove guns? Sure, that is my opinion, but it's not as easy as that. You got to put the history in context, you got to put the culture in context, you got to put like so many aspects into this context. So I think what you're representing here, Wesley, is a little bit of like a very European view on America, like a bit of a simplified view. I agree with you. From our point of view, many things that happen in the United States are not how normal people behave. I agree. Like, for example, stick with gun laws here in the UK, guns were widely available, I think, until the 80s or like early 90s or something. And then one real school massacre happened. So they introduced immediately a law that banned all firearms, not just assault rifles, all firearms. It was all banned. And now, 30 years later, we live in a gun-free society. And I'm happy about this, honestly. If you see what's going on in London, I'm glad those kids only have knives, okay? Because the damage is limited you can do with that. Doesn't make it better, many problems, but I'm glad they don't have freaking firearms. So yes, looking at the United States, it's like, yeah, well, why don't they introduce like gun legislation? Why are they not limiting people's access to guns and remove guns out of society and start that progress? Why? Hard to understand for a European. It's culture. It's a bigger context there to be seen, I think. Never underestimate the importance of culture and the importance of like the context that a culture and what people say, believe, and do happens in, what the role that plays. That, applies to you. But likewise, it also applies to us,